I'd like to call the July 5th, 2016 Plaquemines Parish Port Harbor Terminal District Committee meeting to order at 5 p.m. If you please stand for pledge of allegiance. Do roll call. Kind of procedural thing. This is a roll call real quick.
Councilmember Bartholomew is absent. Councilmember Black?
Present.
Councilmember Burt?
Present.
Councilmember Trufant Salvian?
Here.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Also want to recognize our parish president, Mr. Ed Taylor, who's present with us, as well as Executive Port Director Sandy Sanders, John Pennison, Shimbo Riley, and Christy Nielsen. Do we have any items for old business? None. We'll move to new business. We'll do report status update by the Executive Director.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, and fellow members of the board. My name is Sandy Sanders. I am the Executive Director of Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District. What follows is my Executive Director's report at this meeting for the last month. We had recently finished our year-end audit, and the results I sent to the board, but it's interesting to note that this is the third year that we have had no major findings. I sent a attached financial report to the board members, but for those of you in the audience, per the summary's audit reports, there were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies found in internal controls, no compliance material in financial statements found in compliance, no issues of non-compliance or significant deficiencies found in the financial statements, and no findings found in the federal awards findings or the question costs. There were no findings found in internal control and compliance material to both financial statements or federal awards. And lastly, it was resolved that as a result of the 2014 audit, we had adopted policy letters via an ordinance vote by our board to tailor our written policies towards our unique operation. And in closing, I would like to report that the Plaquemines Port Harbor Internal District is financially sound, and we are headed in the right direction. And I would like to point out our go-to person that keeps us all straight, Ms. Shimbo Riley. She's our CFO. She and her staff have done an outstanding job, and I would like for everyone to give her a hand. I think that's really... And I have invited the board members to, we are having a outbrief by the audit on Thursday morning at 8:30. If you would like to attend, we would love to have you there. We also had a drainage, I have a drainage update to report on the port property. May I add before we get started that it's been a very good exercise as far as cooperation between the port staff and the parish staff coming together on things that are tough issues, and I would like to lend our muscle wherever we can when issues come up like that involve both of us. But I think this was a very good approach to it. We came up with a number of courses of action, and then by default we negated some and came up with what would be our best course of action, and it's hopefully to minimize the amount of money that needs to be spent. We minimize the route of the ditches to be swept to effect a good drainage system into the holding pond for the pumps to operate properly. The port offered, and it will be announced for ordinance, we put $250,000 aside to pay for the project. The parish staff, particularly the engineers, are going to the Corps of Engineers first and getting a read-in on exactly what is required. Hopefully we won't have to do this step, but it appears we're probably going to have to do the full permitting process and also do a wetlands delineation. this is not a bad thing. These things have to happen anyway, but we were hoping we might get a letter of no objection. We're still not saying we won't get one, but that would certainly expedite the matters for Venture Global to go ahead and start. But again, it was a good demonstration of cooperation with the staffs. With our briefing of Louisiana 23, which is the formerly Energy 23, we briefed President Yenny and some members of his staff a couple of weeks ago, and last Friday we also briefed Alan Hero and his board of the Hero Foundation, because they would be very involved, particularly with the introduction of the commercial air cargo into the Naval Air Station. He was very excited, and like President Yenny, he stands ready to assist, to do any meetings when we see other public or public officials or industry leaders here in this area or throughout the state. Lastly, we have put in for a table for the Bertel Awards. This is an award that's given every year to a maritime leader in our area. It will be given to Senator Vitter, particularly for his efforts with the language in the WRDA, particularly when it comes to dredging the Mississippi River. He's been a stalwart performer for our area, for our whole state, and quite frankly, for the 30 states that touch the Mississippi River. This is very important. We invited the Port Committee and also our president. We've had some folks that cannot make it, so we've extended the invitation to the remainder of the port members. Today we have a number of items for new business. The first, well, I ask that A be placed to the rear, Mr. Chairman, which is the employment contract that seems to be going to take up most of the time. There is a discussion regarding the extension of the Arlington Group contract. That's with Mr. Larry Lynott. Larry has had this contract with the port for quite some time. As far as Washington, D.C. consultants, he's very economical. He's $30,000 a year. At the Port of Corpus Christi, we paid over $250,000. Larry does not get into the issues to the point where he is fighting them on his own in our absence. We're always going up to Washington, D.C., and he accompanies us, but he does a very good job of presenting the presentations, the facts at hand, and has extremely good follow-up. He's been an ardent leader for us, particularly where it comes into dredging the Baptiste Colette. So it was introduced at the last meeting and will be voted upon on the next meeting. We also, there is a discussion regarding the renewal of the ad valorem tax. And the last two discussions, E and F, can be lumped together. This involves a vehicle that the port owns. It's a 2005 Dodge 250 pickup truck, and we have to introduce it both ways. We are willing to donate it to the parish, and if the parish decides that they do not want it, then we will dispose of it as disused movable property. But it authorizes us to auction the truck. Our suggestion is, this is a bad truck. It's full of problems, and I would be disingenuous if I told y'all to take it. We'd probably do better off auctioning it off, but if you want a lemon, I'll give it to you. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my report, and I'm ready to go into each item and discuss at depth.
Thank you, General. I'd first like to say, and I think I could safely say it on behalf of the committee, Shambrell, good job. We really appreciate you and your team's work for the audit, and look forward to hearing the results tomorrow. Thursday. What's today? Tuesday? Yeah, Thursday. So I don't have anything else. Ms. Solvent?
No.
Mr. Burt? All right, let's go, as requested, let's move to item C, the discussion regarding extension of the Arlington Group contract. I think we had some discussion on this last time in reference to maybe having a joint contract with the parish. I'm not sure if you guys
Well,
spoke to the
Mr.
parish.
Chairman, you asked me to run that to ground, so I asked my attorney, and he said that both entities cannot be on the same contract because they're two different bodies. However, we can combine our efforts with a CEA. I relayed this to Mr. Lynott. I told him, I said, you know, as far as the port goes, we're good with the amount. We're ready to re-engage you. It does come up for a vote. I guess in this case, I'm somewhat of a messenger boy, and that is if the parish wants to negotiate with Mr. Lynott on services that he offers, he's willing to listen. He just wants someone to reach out to him and offer what you propose. And again, if we can put it under a CEA, if that would give any type of discount, certainly willing to use our muscle to assist in a discount.
Have we ever gone over the $30,000 annually on that contract?
No, sir, it's $2,500 a month,
Fixed rate.
fixed rate, and it's one of those contracts where you can use him to death for 5 months and then never talk to him again. That's just how it goes.
Okay. I know
A retainer contract.
when I was in D.C., we had some discussions with yourself, and I know late Mr. Cormier, as well as Mr. Frelish, who seemed to, I think, enjoy their services. I think he had some good rapport with Mr. Lynott and his group, and I'm not sure if Mr. Terrio can elaborate on that, or what your feelings are on Mr.
Had good relationship with him.
Okay, yeah, I think both parish and
He was
the,
informed.
and the port.
We're very satisfied with him, and he has championed the Baptiste Colette dredging, and I believe that we're going to be regrouping in August, September timeframe. We want to make sure we get this done while the present administration is in office, because President Obama and we have, from the OMB office, we have heard that this is a darling project. They like it a lot. They want to put their arms around it. We're getting the kinks worked out. But we're getting close to the goal line. I think this would be a huge thing for our region with the Baptiste Colette. And it's also a good, huge accomplishment for the state, because they get their #1 economic coastal restoration project performed with the same dollar that we're using on the dredge. So it's got a great 1 + 1 = 3 effect.
Yeah, you know, I just want to reiterate too, I know Mr. Frelish, I had a discussion with him in regards to some CPRA issues, or even some Corps of Engineer issues. I think that Mr. Lynott can work with him from the parish's contract and the port's contract, because it deals with, you know, Baptiste Colette and some other dredging issues. I know, you know, I read a few things online this weekend about some sandbars building up in South Pass, and some, you know, pretty much Baptiste Colette is even passable by some small vessels. So I know it's getting bad down there right now, and I'm sure they'll be
I
utilized.
spoke to Mr. Frelish, and I also spoke to our interim president, and this was near and dear to President Cormier's list of things to get done. And Vince said, you know, let's get this done in his honor, and I think that's a very noble tribute. So that's what we plan on doing. Get
I don't
this-
have a problem with the contract as it is. I'll open it up to the rest of the committee.
I would just, Mr. Black, I would just question why the terms of the contract, why would in his case, it's only for a year, opposed to all of the other contracts. And by parish charter, I think the limit is a 2-year term.
Yeah, we've, did we do,
Eric went to 2 years.
Eric went to 2? Have we always done 1 with Lynott?
The contract is written where it can be renewed by either party via a letter on an ongoing basis. The contract term is actually for a year, but we're just renewing it on a year-to-year basis.
Okay. And that's what you guys are
I hope
comfortable
that
with?
makes sense, but,
And y'all comfortable with doing a year-to-year?
yes, sir,
annual renewal?
and to extend the contract, all it takes is a letter back and forth between the two parties stating that we both agree to continue on with the same terms of the contract.
With council approval? or-
Yes, sir, that's why we're before the
Yeah, it was introduced last meeting, it will be voted upon next meeting.
Ms. Sullivan, you have anything else?
No, not at this time, but I would also, again, would just like to say, I'm somewhat familiar with Mr. Lennox through my previous employment as an administrative assistant, and I too thought he did a miraculous job, especially around the Mardi Gras deal out there. You know, he was very helpful to a lot of the council members. You know, he worked the council members through a lot of the nicks and tucks with the ordinarily wouldn't be able to get through. Mr. Lennox was able to put them in the right meetings and the right places without them having to find their way. So I definitely support his, would support the contract, the renewal of his contract.
All right, with that, any questions from the audience? All right, we will move to 3D, discussion regarding the renewal of the ad valorem tax.
Yes, sir. The renewal of the ad valorem tax is really a housekeeping item that has to be introduced and voted upon every year. This is the 3 mil ad valorem tax that the port levied that enabled the port to purchase their, what we call parcel 2, but roughly 680 acres. We have collected, we are way ahead of schedule, and then at the last meeting, I reported at the tax assessors meeting of all the taxing agencies here in the community. We talked about, can we shave a little bit off of our millage across the board with everyone to, in an effort to make our parish attractive, as to not create a disincentive for someone to want to leave the parish, particularly in the maritime arena. I was happy to report then, and I reiterate that the port is ready to pay off the debt in 2017. We'll probably still be receiving payments up to about the May timeframe. That's just to allow for late submissions. However, it is our intent for the collection to cease at the end of 2016. And this is a good news story. It has the port paying off the entire debt, which was spread over 5 years. We'll have it paid off in 3. But once again, going back to the item, we do need to vote. It has been introduced, but a vote will come about at the next meeting to renew the ad valorem tax.
I appreciate that. I think we've spoke quite a bit about it at the assessors meeting. This will bring us down to 62.5 mils, I think, at the next renewal, which is in July, August of 2017. So just wanted to clarify that. It's not going to take effect. We'll stop collecting into 2016, but,
We'll stop deducting
right,
in 2017.
but it's
But
showing,
we'll
it is
still
showing
be
the road.
collecting that which was
Right.
deducted in 2016. And generally, by May, we will have collected everything that was deducted for the previous year.
And then we'll pay off the remainder of the bond all
Yes, sir.
from the land
We'll
fund.
reach in our pocket and pay a little north of $920,000,
Yeah, good number.
and that'll retire the debt.
No, I think that's great. I don't have anything further on that one. Ms. Sullivan, Mr. Burt.
I'm good.
Any questions from the audience or comments? All right, let's move to, you want to just, we'll do E and F together. I think we'll move to F, discussion of legislation entitled Resolution Authorizing the Platinum's Port Harbor and Terminal District, Platinum's Port to dispose of disused movable property, specifically to dispose of 2005 Dodge 2500 pickup truck on an as-is basis whereas basis, and in accordance with Louisiana statutes governing the disposal of movable property owned by a political subdivision of the state and otherwise provide respect thereto. I know I think I'm taking Ms. Barber's job a little bit here.
Yes, you are, but that's
I apologize.
You're the boss.
I just realized that after I did my third one, but, yeah, I mean, you know, if your recommendation is to go with F, I think we can probably withdraw E when it comes to it, unless the parish president really wants that
We
thing.
thank the port, but we'll take a rain check on the end.
Got a real good deal for you.
Be a maintenance nightmare. Might be in the shop all day on the road.
Good deal for you.
In fact, we might turn the two of them together when you go to auction.
All right, so
Port for the auction.
Yes, sir.
is everybody okay with withdrawing E when we get to the table?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Moore, I'll let you finish up with B.
You want me to do E or B?
We have, no,
Skip E?
I mean, if you want to just do it for procedural matters, then we'll move forward with it. You can go ahead with E.
Discussion of legislation entitled, "A Resolution Authorizing the Parish President to Accept the Transfer of a Truck to Plaquemines Parish Government for Public Use and Benefit and otherwise provide with respect thereto."
All right, so we'll go ahead and, I think we've discussed that, to withdraw that at the meeting. Now we'll move to B.
Okay, I'll give you the background to it, and then we'll open up the discussion.
Let her read it real quick.
Okay.
Employment contract with Major General Maynard Sandy Sanders for services as Port Executive Director.
Roughly 2 months ago, I sent out to the chairman, and then I believe he may have sent it out to the members of the board, a proposed contract from me. I also had a copy of my old contract, and I also provided the latest annual survey from the American Association of Port Authorities. This is what they call the salary compensation survey. They put it out every year. It shows every port in the United States. I may have just sent you the Gulf Coast ports. I'm not sure if I sent the whole.
161 pages.
Okay, well, then you got all the, but if you just, you want to just look at the Gulf Coast ports, yeah. But as you see the survey, it shows compensation from the executive director down to the port cat. It's very thorough. So it illustrates, again, what the market for these positions are. I was at the Port of Corpus Christi for roughly 5+ years as the deputy port director. I wanted to be a port director. I looked around and I chose Plaquemines. And I've told y'all this story before. It was not really my intent to stay. I wanted to get executive director on my report card, and I was looking for what I thought, in my mind, bigger and better, a bigger port where I could really have an impact. As things would have it, I fell in love with it here. I fell in love with the job, really the challenge. And the challenge was building a port where they never had a port. And so it took me a while to kind of figure out how I was going to get my arms around this. And me being a logistician by training and a planner, strategic planner, I had to come out with exactly what it was I was going to do. And I've given speeches on this, so some of y'all probably heard my story, but it took me a long time to figure out how we were going to accomplish that strategic vision. And again, we did not even have a vision when I got here. We had to come up with a vision. Long story short, I'm here at the end of my contract, and I teamed up with none other than Gary LaGrange. He is the executive director of the Port of New Orleans. Gary's been executive director for over 40 years at 4 different ports, and he offered, and I took up his offer, and actually my contract, I modeled it after his. I presented it to our chairman, and a lot of give and take on it. And if you have the original, I originally had asked for an increase of $10,000. Now, I took a $70,000 cut to come here, but that was my decision. But after being here 3 years, I thought, well, I'll increase it by 10. And I wanted to bring my contract into market. I realized, well, let me rephrase that. The chairman made me realize that, I'm not saying you don't deserve that increase, he said, but the optics look very bad. Just to sign up just because you've been here for 3 years. And I agreed. It does look bad, particularly in light of what's going on with the parish. And, I know y'all whittled down as many programs as you have to the point where now you're looking at having to take jobs. So the optics of that is bad. I did have in there, though, what I call a performance-based clause. And that performance-based clause means, it deals with Venture Global. Venture Global is one of the largest LNG contractors in the United States, in the world for that matter. They're going to build one of the largest plants in North America, right here. It will result in 24 million tons of LNG exported. They have chosen our location. We brought them in. They would like to expand. It is the largest, single most business event that's happened here in, I would say, modern history. It's going to be an $8 billion investment. When they go from an option to a lease, and that option means they're just paying us X amount of dollars to hold the property. They have first right of refusal, and they're going through their permitting process and all the things that an entity such as Venture Global would have to do, excuse me, to do their due diligence to ensure that, hey, we found the right place, we can get our permits going, and yes, we want to go into production. At that time, they would go into a full lease. It might not happen for 2 years, and quite frankly, the way options go, they can come back and tell us, we decided this is not the right place. But my performance trigger is that in the event they go from an option to a full lease, I would go into a market situation. Now, that's fancy talk for give me a raise. Now, I'm asking for $260,000. If you look at the AAPA survey and you compare that, that is low intermediate in the marketplace, i.e., it is middle, lower middle. Again, this is a performance-based market jump. And with that, I will open it up for any discussion or what have you. This will be voted on at the next port meeting. Mr. Chairman, I defer to you.
Oh, thank you, I appreciate that. I'm going to over to the table first.
I'll just say, my short tenure here on the council or the port, I've had good dealings with you, Sandy. I think you're doing an excellent job. There are a few things in here that I'm going to probably scan over before the next board meeting and provide some feedback that may need to be looked at. But overall, I think you're doing an excellent job, and, we need to keep you here to move this thing forward. I think your vision's there, the direction's there. So I appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you. I want to stay here. Ms. Audrey?
I ditto everything my Mr. Burke just said. Not only that you have the expertise and the knowledge and you've proven that in the past, say, 2.5 years. And, I mean, I don't have anything negative to say about you. I have every confidence that you're the person for the job, and that you can move this port where it needs to be. And not only that you're knowledgeable, you represent us well, you know? You're easy on the eyes, you look well all the time. So, you know, it's nothing but check marks all the way across, you know? But as Charlie just said, I too have a few little issues that I want to, you know, address with my colleagues prior to
Yes,
the
ma'am.
next the vote. Okay?
I'll tell you what, I haven't, I've been around a lot of military personnel, I haven't seen a Major General blush as much as I just did. I'm going to open up
You was
to
mad, you blushing, right?
I'm going to open it up to the audience. I'm not sure if anybody, if Mr. Hopkins, I see Mr. Hopkins here from Pavi. He presented us with a letter as the 2016 chairman. Do you want to comment?
Can I do it from back here, or do I need to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think you, whatever. Yeah, you get back there.
All right, for those, paraphrase, well, I'll just read the letter. Go moving forward before reading into this. Been kind of involved with Hobby for the past 5 years. Before that, just from knowing about Plaquemines, that we've known that the idea or concept of a port has been around for decades. And that it wasn't until the past 3 years that we've actually seen it go from concept to actually seeing land being purchased and projects going in for port development. So to see what Mr. Sanders has done in the past 3 years as opposed to decades prior, it is great to finally see Plaquemines take advantage of our biggest asset, which is our river, and the revenue that is, well, potential revenue that is there on our river, and the amount of jobs and industry that it can create. So, Mr. Sanders, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Moving to the letter, the Plaquemines Association of Business and Industry strongly supports the Parish Council Port Authority approving a contract to continue the employment of Sandy Sanders as Executive Director of the Port. Sanders has aggressively pursued projects which will greatly benefit the port, the parish, and its citizens. The VG LNG project alone stands to generate $20 million in rental income to the port annually, and when fully developed beyond its 10-year industrial exemption, $71 million in ad valorem taxes. We understand Sanders is working on advanced payments will generate tax revenues even sooner than the 10 years. When Sanders was first hired, the port did not own any property, and there were no projects on the horizon. We now own 600 acres of prime property under contract for a $2 billion project, with many other leads being developed. He's operated the port under budget, has maintained a loyal, stable workforce, and has lived up to his commitment to the business community to make advance payments on a 3 mil tax we supported, cutting the burden from 5 to 3 years. He has worked on improving levee projects, has crafted a 20-year plan for development of the port, and has agreed to move the Economic Development Department under the port, removing that financial burden from the parish during tough economic times. He has aggressively supported the deepening of Baptiste Colette, Peters Road bypass, and a relocation of the railroad out of Belchase, all projects vital to our future success and supported by PAVI for the past 12 years. Based on a lack of economic development activity at the port prior to Sanders' arrival, it is hard to believe that Sanders would not be applauded for his accomplishments. In fact, we've even heard critics say he's doing a great job. We need his leadership to complete the BG process and bring us 2 or 3 more like them. Recently, at our June PAVI membership meeting, Tim Osborne, NOAA's navigation manager, was our guest speaker. Mr. Osborne spoke of the importance of the Plaquemines Parish based on our connection to the world through our port. We are the gateway to the world and the world's largest complex of ports, he said. To PAVI, that means we should not take our port for granted. We should continue to work to maximize its potential, and that means keeping strong leadership in place. We understand Mr. Sanders has agreed to a continuation of his existing compensation far below industry standards until the time when the BG project moves from just an option to an actual signed deal. At that time, he's requesting an increase to bring his compensation closer to industry standards. While no one is irreplaceable, we believe we are at a crossroads into bringing a more diversified economy to Plaquemines Parish, and Sanders is a key component. We need him fully engaged for another 3 years and beyond to continue developing our port and parish. If we want our port to be world-class and derive the benefits that brings, we have to be willing to have a leader who is comfortable working on the world stage and should compensate him accordingly and up to industry standards. Sincerely, Robert Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. We appreciate that, and I think we have enough letters to pass out to the rest of the,
We can make comments.
yeah, we'll make copies and get them to the rest of the council. Yeah, look, I know we have until July 28th to get this thing kind of worked through. I'm very confident that by the time we get to the table, it will be worked through in one way or another.
Yes, sir.
You know, the last thing I want to do is sit with my colleagues on the 28th and argue back and forth about, you know, retaining your services. I think your services, like Ms. Truth Gonsalves and Mr. Burt alluded to, and Mr. Hopkins really, that they are very much needed, especially now. I mean, we're so close to having some serious success that, you know, I don't really see an issue of retaining your services. I think there's just a few little items in here that, you know, and I'll tell you up front is, from what I understand from speaking to my colleagues, whether or not the term should be a 3-year term or a 2-year term or 1-year term, whether we can actually do a 3-year term, I know that's been mentioned. The current salary of $187,500, going up to $202,125, and the $260 annually if for the increase, performance-based increase. But, you know, I think those things that are things that we could, and I think there's some other grammatical issues and stuff that needs to be worked out, but it's all just customary, minor things. But I do hope to have a resolution in final draft on July 28th where we can go out and vote on it and hopefully be unanimous, just to show support for you and the work that we've done between now and then. I think a lot of work's been done already, so I think we'll come to a good resolution. I think that you'll be happy with, and I think the port and our constituents would be happy with as well. So
Thank you.
I look forward to working towards that. We do have one question, a comment from the audience.
I wanted to make some comments.
Yeah, please.
If you're still allowed public comment.
Absolutely, Mr. George Peabody.
George Peabody, I am Vice President and General Counsel for the Venasport Complex. I'm here also today to strongly encourage this committee and the council to retain General Sanders. And I would also like to encourage you to retain him under the terms he's proposed. And let me tell you a little bit why. I came on board with the Venasport Complex 4 months after Hurricane Katrina in 2005. Shortly thereafter, 2006, 2007, we started working very hard and diligently toward deepening Baptiste Collet, as it was seen the area was too shallow for the vessels that are now working in the deep Gulf area. We wanted to be able to deepen Baptiste Collet to capture some of the Eastern Gulf, which has not come about yet. It was delayed as a result of Hurricane Katrina. It was delayed as a result of BP oil spill. It's now been delayed a little bit as a result of low energy prices. Working with various council peoples, parish presidents to get that job done, it was a collaborative effort. The council put up the original seed money and the money to go with the state to be able to do the studies to do that. And we worked very hard. It's taken 8 years to get where we are now, almost 9 years. General Sanders came on board with the Port Authority about 2.5 years ago. Prior to that, I had very little, if any, participation from the port as related to the Venasport Complex, the Eastern Gulf, deepening Baptiste Collet, and making it a viable port for the Eastern Gulf. After General Sanders came on board, I met with him about 6 or 8 months after he came on board, introduced myself, told him who I represented, what work we were trying to accomplish. He was aware of it, but was still getting his feet wet with everything else dealing with the port. Then it took off. I haven't had any type of cooperation as I have had from him as it relates to the port. and deepening Baptiste Colette and making the south part of Plaquemines Parish an oil and gas port, which it was once in its glory days, as we're trying to achieve that same goal today. General Sanders, I've gone with him in Washington, D.C., met with him, met with people he's introduced us to. You go into a room, Sandy, how you doing, bud? Somebody he went to West Point with. Sandy, what's going on, dude? Somebody he met at a port he worked at previously. His connections were unbelievable and very impressive. I wish Councilman Bartholomew was here today because he was along with me, with Councilman Williams, as we went to Washington, D.C. to help promote the deepening of Baptiste Colette in the study. I see him as a valuable resource as it relates to the South Plaquemines in Venice, and the Venice Port Complex, and continuing to develop the port. I see him as a valuable asset as it relates to a public-private relationship between the parish and the current landowner to further develop the port. So I strongly urge you to consider, and I will also go before the council to urge the council to consider his request. Now, we all work for somebody, including me, all right? We all want to be compensated fairly, as he does. But it's always nice to know that you're appreciated. It's always nice to know you have some value. And it's always nice to know that your employer recognizes that. And the kicker that he has, or the incentive that he has, if the VG concept and project comes forward, is a reasonable kicker in light of the fact that it brings him up to the median range for like directors. So we want to continue with this port. We want to stay on the map. We want to develop this port. Sandy Sanders, I see as the man, and I strongly urge this committee, and I will likewise urge the council to renew his contract and seriously consider the terms that he's brought about. It's a performance-based contract. If it happens, he gets a kicker. I think that's something we all can relate to, and again, I strongly urge you to retain his services.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Major Tracy Riley, retired, and I come before you as a resident of this fine community, and I speak in conjunction with what has already been said by PABI as well as Mr. Pivac, so I won't belabor the point, but for sure I just wanted to speak on behalf of General Sanders for all of the reasons that have been spoken, and in addition to his relationships and his ability to make things happen with the least of resources, with the least of people. And in the military, our number one asset is our personnel. And as you've all heard so far, we've got a really wonderful asset in General Sanders, and I agree with Mr. Pivac that whatever the terms, I think that he has done a wonderful job to date, and whatever he is requesting, it seems fair, and of course it's in accordance with industry standard, and for us to meet his needs and to not prolong this process, because we certainly do have a gem in our community with this port project and with the person that we have spearheading this project. And so as it relates to a resident's perspective and wanting to continue to move forward with this project, with this port, my vote would be certainly to award him his requests, I won't say demands, but and that the residents are at least from my little spot here in Plaquemines Parish, we are in support, and we ask that you consider what he's requesting. Thank you.
Thank you all for your comments. Does anybody else have any further comments in reference to this item? If not, I'll afford the parish president an opportunity to speak on any item if you have anything to ask.
Comment, considering the situation with oil and gas, I think this is an opportunity for Plaquemines Parish to seek out other revenue, and we always been told for years, we're sitting on a gold mine, the river. So here's an opportunity to promote the river. As far as the general is concerned, he demonstrated his knowledge of the job, and like Mr. Salva had said, he represents us well as a general should, well dressed, but all generals do that, part of that job. So I think he demonstrated, and I think he's the man for the job.
Anyone else?
And I would just like to thank the community for coming out and supporting him. I mean, highly represented, it means a lot. You know, Ms. Tracy Raleigh, Mr. Peabody, Mr. Hopkins, everybody to speak so well of you. You have to be, it says something about you, Mr. General Sanders. And I know personally, I'm going to take everything into consideration. And as Mr. Black said earlier, it's not that we are going away with here to try to work against you, but there were some issues of concern that we had. And this is not to say that it's going to be anything anti Mr. Sanders.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? So I thank all you guys for your comments.
All right, with that, we'll move to item 4, approval of the minutes of June 7th.
I'll offer.
I'll second.
Councilmember Bartholomew is absent. Councilmember Black?
Yes.
Councilmember Burt?
Yes.
Councilmember Trufant Salvan?
Yes.
All for motion to adjourn?
Second.
Councilmember Bartholomew is absent. Councilmember Black?
Yes.
Councilmember Burt?
Yes.
Councilmember Trufant Salvan?
Yes.
We adjourn at 5:45. Thank you.